Hi, welcome back. Some students note that what we learn in communication classes is common sense. And quite honestly, I can see why some students take this view. In reality, though, most people take communication for granted. Yet, communication failures happen all of the time, often with great consequence. This class builds on knowledge that you may already have. For example, a student said to me that it is quote unquote common sense that the word choices we use and the tone of message we use have very different results. So, for example, there'd be a different response to Mary, let's review the lab intake procedures at our next meeting, than from Mary, clearly you don't get how to do the lab intake. Wouldn't you agree? Yet many of us avoid considering a best course of action, particularly a best course of communication action. In order to put this communication, quote unquote, common sense knowledge to competent use, we must have a more nuanced understanding of how word choice and tone can impact our communication goals. Just to start. So communication is common in that it is something that we spend most of our time doing, and something that we all do. But the ability to make sense of and improve our communication takes competence that is learned through deliberate study and personal reflection. We know employers are looking for employees who are competent, credible, and confident. You are currently developing your competence as you learn both in school and in jobs and internships. You continuously develop your credibility as you meet your personal and professional goals and show others that you're trustworthy and responsible. And you build your confidence as you develop your skills and apply the knowledge that you learn. So this quarter, I'm proposing that you do two things. First, challenge yourself to see the value in the study of communication. Second, apply the concepts that we're learning to your life and find ways to make this class help you achieve your goals. Communication helps us satisfy our human needs, but it is also essential for entering and advancing in any career, not to mention building and maintaining healthy personal relationships. Understanding the fundamental principles of communication can help you make strategic choices that can ensure personal and professional success. First, communication is unavoidable. Now, there's a saying, one cannot not communicate. And that is debatable among communication scholars, but think about how sometimes we communicate without meaning to. For example, before I had LASIK eye surgery this year, I always had something in my eye. So I always had something caught between my contact lens and my eye, which means I was always teary-eyed and blinking and doing this kind of thing. That doesn't lead to the best vision. As a result, I often didn't see people when I walked by them, say on campus or in the hallway. Now, I wasn't avoiding them. I just plain didn't see them to wave, say hello, or stop and chat. But what I communicated was, I don't want to talk to you, or I'm ignoring you. As a result, some who didn't know me well got the impression that I was trying to avoid them, or that I was snobby. Certainly not how I wanted to be perceived. Second, communication is strategic. We use communication for a purpose. Relational communication includes building, maintaining, and ending relationships. Instrumental goals are practical goals, things we want to achieve. This can be as simple as, please pass the bread, to something more serious, such as, can we discuss my salary? Identity management, or often termed self-presentation goals, are how we desire to present ourselves. For example, the language we use might differ if we're speaking to friends versus our boss. This also includes how we dress. So did any of you go through an emo phase in high school, perhaps? I had a cousin who went through a phase like that. That would be identity management. Third, communication is irreversible. Once we've said it, we've said it. There is no rewind and cut button. Goodness knows I could have used that a time or two. Fourth, communication is a process. A message isn't sent or received in isolation. Let's cover that more next. There are several different types of communication models that attempt to describe different phenomena in the field of communication. In its most basic form, the interaction model, shown here, includes a sender, or the person who transmits the message. The channel, or the method used to deliver the message. The receiver of the message. Noise, are factors that interfere with the message. And feedback, the receiver's response to the message. This next model is often referred to as the transactional model, or sometimes the competent communication model. This model expands by recognizing additional types of context that affect communication. The first one is social context. This refers to the social norms that guide communication choices in certain situations. For example, in a classroom, you may raise your hand and wait to be called on. We know that in this situation, you're not going to just begin speaking freely. But within a group of friends, you may speak and interrupt more freely. Relational context refers to your relationship with those that you are communicating with, or audience. For example, if you have a difficult relationship with someone, you may avoid communicating with them as much as possible, or you may choose something like email or text over face-to-face communication because it allows you a little more control. Cultural context refers to the learned behaviors of a specific culture, which of course varies from culture to culture. For example, some cultures prefer very direct communication, while others are more indirect. So much can go wrong here. So many decisions to make. Yet mostly we engage in this process of communication without much thought. In addition, people communicate for a variety of reasons. We communicate to express affiliation, or the feeling of connectedness we have with others. Affiliation is how we show our association with someone by expressing liking, love, respect, as well as dislike, hatred, or disrespect. Affiliation can be expressed in many ways. Verbally, by saying, "I missed you," to your little brother. Non-verbally, by giving a friend in need a big hug. Or mediated, by clicking the heart on your friend's most recent Instagram picture. As we mentioned earlier, we communicate to maintain relationships. What we do and say affects others, and what others do and say affects us, and how we think about our relationship with that person. For example, are you still friends with anyone from high school? How do you maintain that relationship? We communicate to influence others. Most communication is influential in one way or another. Some is intentional, like when a politician makes certain gestures and facial expressions during a press conference so that voters perceive them in a very specific way. Or when your mom yells, "You need to pick up the laundry or you will not get the car today." Some is unintentional, like when a student avoids eye contact with the professor in an after-class meeting. That could be interpreted as lack of confidence or dishonesty, but perhaps the student's just having contact lens problems like I used to have. Another important communication aspect to consider is what we call communication apprehension. It's a very real problem that hinders many people from effectively communicating in certain circumstances or situations. Communication apprehension is someone's fear or anxiety associated with real or anticipated communication. Communication apprehension varies person to person, context to context, situation to situation. For example, when I worked in public relations, one aspect of my job was to walk into crowded parties and introduce myself. Sometimes I would be asked to accept an award on behalf of my employer in front of very large crowds without any notice. And I was totally fine with that. Yet, if you put any of my family members in that crowd, I'd be anxious. Don't know why, just is what it is. One of my good friends often remarked that she would rather have a major operation than do the job that I used to do. So she was apprehensive about the whole situation in general. Now, think about your current professional presence. Think about how you are seen. Think about how you communicate. Do you successfully deal with communication challenges? The best professional communicators share the following characteristics. They have a communication strategy. In other words, they speak with purpose. And this purpose is done through an understanding of who they're speaking with, so that they can best compose their message for that person. If you want to influence, you need to be persuasive. Again, using another type of communication strategy. Professionalism is expressed through your actions, your word choice, body language, tone of voice. But it also requires that you communicate as appropriate to the situation using clear and concise language that is also ethical. What do I mean by ethical? Ethics are the principles that guide your decisions to do the right thing. Sometimes it's difficult to know what the right thing is, but you should always be honest, take responsibility for your own actions, and try to reflect on how your actions may impact others. Finally, great communicators are adaptable. Workplaces are more and more diverse. And by diversity, I don't mean just people from other countries or people who are not native English speakers, but also people who differ from you in age or gender, etc. You will not be able to predict every intercultural problem. That's not the goal here. However, your attempt to accommodate cultural differences will communicate professionalism and respect. On this front, more work environments require collaboration. Collaboration across people, departments, organizations, etc. Collaboration requires you to be able to coordinate, compromise, negotiate agreements, and manage conflict. All things we'll cover in this course. In addition to considering where you are in terms of your own professional presence, take stock of how well you write, speak, and interact interpersonally. So something so common sense doesn't seem so simple after all, does it? We all communicate, but we are all not effective or competent communicators. Being an effective communicator will enhance your professional presence and give you a competitive edge in the job market you're interested and contribute to your personal success. So let's get started. We have an exciting quarter ahead of us. Thank you.